Hello, English learners. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Sarah, and today we are diving into a powerful real English speaking practice masterclass that will help you improve your English speaking skills with confidence and clarity. In this lesson, we will explore advanced daily life English vocabulary, natural expressions, and essential advanced phrases that you can use in real conversations with real people. These are the kinds of phrases that make your English sound more fluent, more emotional, more intelligent, and more natural. And the more you practice them with me, the more they will become a comfortable and automatic part of the way you speak every single day. Before we begin, I want to remind you that we upload English learning videos every single day, so make sure you subscribe and stay with us for more helpful lessons. Now take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, open your mind, and let's begin this advanced English speaking journey together. When you think about becoming fluent in English, one of the most important skills you need is the ability to use advanced vocabulary in a natural, relaxed way during everyday conversations. Many learners memorize difficult words, but they never actually use them when speaking because they feel nervous, unsure, or afraid of sounding strange. Today, we will break that barrier together. I will guide you through phrases, expressions, and vocabulary that you can use naturally in your daily life, whether you are talking to friends, colleagues, customers, or strangers. The goal is not to sound complicated. The goal is to sound confident, thoughtful, and fluent. So as we go through each part of this lesson, try to imagine yourself speaking these sentences in real situations. Picture a conversation. Hear the rhythm of the sentences. Feel how your mouth moves when forming the words. This type of mental practice is powerful, and it helps make advanced English a natural part of your daily thinking. One of the most useful advanced habits to develop is learning to express your reactions with emotional intelligence. Instead of using basic phrases like, "that's good" or "that's bad," fluent speakers often use richer expressions that show understanding, empathy, and confidence. For example, instead of saying, "I understand," you can say, "I completely see where you're coming from." Instead of saying, "I'm confused," you can say, "I'm trying to wrap my head around it." This sounds more natural and expressive, and instead of saying, "I don't know," a more advanced option is, "I'm not entirely sure, but let me think it through." These expressions allow you to show confidence, even in uncertain situations. Imagine you're at work, talking to a colleague about a difficult project. They explain something complicated, and you want to respond in a natural, advanced way. You could say, "I appreciate you breaking that down for me. It really helps clarify things." Or imagine you're listening to a friend talk about a personal problem. Instead of saying, "I understand your problem," you can say, "That sounds really tough, and I can imagine how overwhelming it must feel." This type of vocabulary helps you express emotional intelligence, which is a key part of being fluent in English. Now let's practice with a short speaking exercise. I will give you a simple, everyday situation, and your task is to respond using an advanced phrase. Imagine someone says to you, "I'm feeling stressed because I have too much work." Instead of responding with basic English, try saying, "That sounds incredibly demanding, and it makes sense that you'd feel overwhelmed." Practice saying it out loud. Focus on the rhythm. Feel how the longer sentence makes your speaking sound more natural and expressive. Repeat it a few times until it feels comfortable. Another powerful way to sound more fluent is by using advanced everyday vocabulary when describing your thoughts. For example, instead of saying "I think," you can say "I'm inclined to believe," or "from my perspective," or "it seems reasonable to assume." These expressions help you sound more mature and confident in your speech. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone asks for your opinion. Instead of saying, "I think it's good," you might say, "From my perspective, this approach seems highly effective." Notice how this sounds more thoughtful and more fluent. Let's practice this idea with another exercise. Think about something simple you like, maybe your favorite food, movie, or hobby. Instead of giving a basic answer, try expressing it with advanced vocabulary. For example, instead of saying "I like reading," you can say, "I genuinely enjoy reading because it allows me to immerse myself in new ideas and perspectives." Try saying it out loud slowly. Start with the basic sentence in your mind and transform it into an advanced one. This builds your fluency step by step. A big part of real-life fluency is being able to express your opinion politely, especially when you disagree. Many learners avoid disagreement because they feel uncomfortable or don't know the right phrases. But fluent English speakers use advanced expressions that soften disagreement and keep the conversation polite. Instead of saying, "I disagree," you can say, "I see your point, but I have a slightly different perspective." Or, "I understand where you're coming from, but I'd like to offer another angle." These expressions are polite, confident, and widely used by native speakers. They allow you to express yourself clearly, without sounding rude. Imagine you are talking with a friend who says something you don't fully agree with. Try responding like this: "I get what you mean, but I'm inclined to think differently." Practice saying this. Notice how it keeps the conversation friendly and open. Try repeating it with different tones: calm, thoughtful, curious. This helps you build confidence in real-life situations where you need to express your opinion politely. Now let's move into another important area of advanced daily life speaking: describing experiences. When you describe a story or something that happened to you, fluent speakers often use expressive and vivid language. Instead of saying "it was good," you can say, "It was incredibly refreshing," or "it was surprisingly enjoyable," or "it was more challenging than I expected." Each of these phrases paints a picture and helps you sound more emotionally connected to your experience. Let's practice with a scenario. Imagine someone asks you, "How was your weekend?" Instead of answering with "it was good," try something like, "It was surprisingly peaceful, and I finally had the chance to recharge." This type of sentence sounds natural and advanced, but it is not difficult to learn. Practice saying it slowly, then repeat it with a smooth, steady rhythm. Try imagining the situation clearly, so that your brain connects the real-life moment with the advanced language. Another advanced skill fluent speakers use is adding nuance to their sentences. Nuance means small details that make your speech more precise and expressive. For example, instead of saying, "I'm tired," you can say, "I'm feeling a bit exhausted today," or "I'm running low on energy," or I didn't sleep as well as I hoped. Each of these phrases gives more detail and sounds more natural. When you add nuance, you show that you have stronger control of the language. Let's do a short practice. Think about how you're feeling right now. Instead of saying, "I'm fine," try expressing it in a more advanced way. You might say, "I'm feeling quite balanced today," or "I'm a little distracted, but managing well," or "I'm in a calm and focused mood." Practice choosing one sentence and say it clearly. This type of practice helps you build emotional vocabulary, which is essential for advanced fluency. One more powerful habit fluent English speakers use is rephrasing or paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means expressing the same idea in a different way. This skill is incredibly important in real-life conversations because it helps you stay confident even when you can't remember the perfect word. Instead of stopping or panicking, you simply explain the idea with different words. For example, if you forget the word frustrated, you can say, "I feel like things are not going the way I hoped." If you forget the word productive, you can say, "I managed to get a lot done today." This technique helps you stay fluent, even when your vocabulary is not perfect. Let's practice paraphrasing together. Imagine you want to say, "I was frustrated today," but you don't remember the word frustrated. Try saying, "I had a few moments today where things felt difficult and didn't go the way I wanted." This is a natural, advanced way to express yourself without stopping. Practice saying this slowly. Focus on keeping your voice steady and confident. You are doing great so far, and this is only the beginning. The more you practice these advanced expressions and speaking techniques, the more fluent and confident you will become in your everyday English conversations with real people, in real situations. As you continue improving your English speaking skills, one of the most powerful habits you can develop is the ability to speak with clarity even when the situation feels unpredictable. Real-life conversations are rarely perfect. People interrupt each other, change topics without warning, speak quickly, or use unfamiliar vocabulary. That's why advanced speakers rely on transition phrases to help guide conversations smoothly. These transitions act like bridges, allowing you to move from one idea to another while sounding natural and confident. For example, if you want to add a new point, you can say, "Building on what you just said," or "Another thing worth mentioning is," if you want to change the direction of the conversation, you can say, "That reminds me of," or "Speaking of that." These small phrases help you stay fluent, even when your thoughts are moving quickly. Try practicing one of these transitions now. Imagine someone tells you about a busy day at work. You could respond by saying, "That sounds intense." Speaking of busy days, I've been dealing with a similar situation lately. Notice how the phrase, "speaking of busy days," creates a natural bridge, allowing you to smoothly connect your story to theirs. Practice repeating that sentence slowly. Feel how the transition phrase gives you time to think and plan your next words. This technique becomes especially useful when you want to maintain momentum in a conversation without hesitation. Another essential advanced speaking skill is learning how to express uncertainty without losing confidence. Many English learners panic when they don't know the right word or when they need a moment to think. But fluent speakers do this all the time, and they sound completely natural while doing it. They use phrases like, "Let me think for a moment," or "I need a second to gather my thoughts," or "I'm trying to recall the exact word." These expressions are not a sign of weakness. They actually show maturity, emotional control, and clarity. You can use them to give yourself a moment to breathe while keeping the conversation smooth and natural. Let's practice together. Imagine someone asks you a complicated question at work or in a social setting. Before answering, try saying, "That's an interesting question. Let me take a moment to think about it." Say it out loud. Repeat it until the phrase becomes automatic. This type of practice helps you stay calm and confident, even when you're unsure. Now let's move into advanced vocabulary that you can use to describe your thoughts, opinions, and decisions in daily life. Fluent speakers often use words like compelling, intriguing, insightful, overwhelming, manageable, impressive, discouraging, and uplifting. These words help you express your feelings more clearly and more precisely. For example, if someone tells you a story, instead of saying, "That's interesting," you could say, "That's really intriguing." Instead of saying, "I feel good about it," you could say, "I feel quite confident about that decision." Instead of saying, "I'm happy," you could say, "I'm genuinely uplifted by that news." Let's practice using some of these words. Imagine you watched a movie recently. Instead of the basic sentence, "The movie was good," try saying, "The movie was surprisingly compelling, and it really captured my attention from beginning to end." Now imagine you tried something new, but found it difficult. Instead of saying, "It was hard," you could say, "It was a bit overwhelming at first, but I gradually felt more comfortable as I continued." Practicing like this helps your brain get comfortable using advanced vocabulary in real contexts. Another important part of advanced fluency is expressing agreement in more natural ways. Instead of saying, "I agree," fluent speakers often use richer expressions like, "I completely agree with you," or "I'm on the same page," or "That makes perfect sense to me." These phrases help you participate more actively in conversations. Imagine someone tells you their opinion about a topic you also support. Instead of responding with the single word "agree," you can say, "I'm on the same page. Your point of view really aligns with mine." This is natural, expressive, and emotionally intelligent. Let's take a moment to practice disagreement again, but in more advanced everyday situations. Imagine you're discussing a plan with a coworker. They suggest doing something that you believe may not work well. Instead of saying, "I disagree," try saying, "I see where you're coming from, but I'm not entirely convinced this approach will get us the best results." Practice saying this slowly. The sentence is long, but the rhythm is clear and purposeful. It helps you express yourself politely and professionally. Another powerful technique advanced speakers use is expanding basic answers into fuller, more descriptive ones. Many learners answer questions with only one or two words, which makes conversations feel short and unnatural. Instead of answering yes, no, or maybe, you can add more detail to show confidence and fluency. For example, if someone asks, "Did you enjoy the event?" Instead of saying yes, you could say, "Yes, I really enjoyed it. It was much more engaging than I expected. This type of expanded response helps the conversation continue naturally. Let's practice expanding your sentences. Think about a simple question like, "How was your day?" Instead of saying "it was fine," try saying, "It was actually quite productive, and I managed to finish a few important tasks that were on my mind." Try repeating that sentence with a relaxed rhythm. This kind of practice helps you build conversational endurance, meaning you can keep a conversation going without stopping or feeling stuck. Another important skill is learning to describe people, places, and situations with natural advanced vocabulary. For example, instead of saying "he is nice," you could say "he is genuinely thoughtful and easy to talk to." Instead of saying "the place is beautiful," you could say "the place has a remarkably peaceful atmosphere." Instead of saying "the situation is bad," you could say "the situation is quite challenging, but I believe we can work through it." By adding detail and emotion, you sound more fluent and more expressive. Let's practice describing something simple using advanced language. Think of a cafe you like. Instead of saying, "It's a good cafe," try saying, "It's a cozy cafe with a warm atmosphere, and it's the perfect place to relax after a long day." Repeat the sentence slowly. Think about how the descriptive words make your speech sound richer and more natural. Now let's focus on another essential skill for fluency: asking questions in a more advanced and conversational way. Instead of saying, "What do you think?" you can say, "I'd love to hear your thoughts on this." Instead of saying, "Why did you do that?" you can say, "I'm curious about what motivated that decision." Instead of saying, "How are you?" you can say, "How have you been feeling lately?" These types of questions show genuine interest and help build deeper conversations. Practice transforming a simple question into a more advanced one. Imagine you want to ask someone about their weekend plans. Instead of saying, "What will you do this weekend?" try saying, "Do you have anything exciting planned for the weekend?" This sounds natural and friendly. Repeat it aloud until it feels comfortable. Another useful daily life skill is learning to soften your language when you want to be polite. Fluent speakers often use softening expressions like a bit, a little, kind of, slightly, and somewhat. Instead of saying "you're wrong," you could say, "I think there might be a slight misunderstanding." Instead of saying "I can't do it," you could say, "I'm not sure I'll be able to manage that today." This type of softening helps you sound more professional, thoughtful, and emotionally aware. Let's try a short softening exercise. Imagine someone asks you to finish 3 big tasks by the end of the day. Instead of saying "I can't," try saying, "I'm not sure I'll be able to manage all of that today, but I can prioritize the most urgent tasks." This response is polite, realistic, and advanced. Practice saying it slowly until it feels natural. Now let's talk about an important part of real-life fluency that many learners overlook: expressing appreciation. Showing appreciation is a powerful way to build strong connections in English. Instead of saying "thank you," you can use more expressive phrases such as, "I really appreciate your help," or "that means a lot to me," or "I'm truly grateful for your support." These phrases help you sound warm and emotionally intelligent. Imagine someone helped you with a difficult task. Instead of simply saying, Thanks? Try saying, I genuinely appreciate your support. It made a big difference. Practice saying this slowly so you can use it naturally in real conversations. You're building advanced English speaking skills step by step. And each practice moment helps make the language more comfortable and more automatic for you. Keep breathing, stay relaxed, and let the words flow naturally from your mouth. As you move toward more advanced English fluency, another powerful skill you need is the ability to express subtle emotions and complex feelings in daily conversations. Many learners rely on simple words like happy, sad, angry, or confused, but fluent speakers often use more nuanced expressions to communicate their emotional state more precisely. For example, instead of saying, I'm happy, you might say, I'm genuinely delighted, or I'm feeling really uplifted today. Instead of saying, I'm sad, you might say, I'm feeling a bit down, or I'm going through a rough moment. These phrases help other people understand your feelings more deeply and make your English sound much more natural and expressive. Let's practice expressing emotional nuance. Imagine you had a long day, but something small made you smile. Instead of saying, I'm happy, try saying, I'm pleasantly surprised by how that little moment brightened my day. Practice saying it slowly. Feel the rhythm of the sentence. Notice how it sounds more expressive than the basic version. Now imagine someone disappointed you. Instead of saying, I'm upset, try saying, I'm feeling a little let down by what happened. This kind of language makes your conversation sound more human and emotionally intelligent, which is a major part of advanced English fluency. Another powerful skill is learning how to manage difficult conversations using advanced English. Real life includes disagreements, misunderstandings, conflicts, and unexpected moments where emotions rise. Fluent speakers often use calm, controlled language to navigate these situations without sounding rude or aggressive. For example, instead of saying, you're wrong, you could say, I understand your point, but I see things a bit differently. Instead of saying, you didn't listen, you can say, I feel like my perspective wasn't fully understood. These phrases help you express your feelings clearly while maintaining respect. Let's try practicing this skill. Imagine someone interrupts you during a conversation. Instead of reacting emotionally, say, I'd like to finish my thought if that's okay. This phrase is firm but polite. It shows confidence without sounding rude. Now imagine someone makes a mistake that affects your work. Instead of saying, you made a mistake, you can say, it seems like there may have been a misunderstanding here. Let's try to sort it out together. Practice repeating this phrase until it feels natural. This type of language helps you stay calm, professional, and emotionally intelligent, even in difficult situations. A key part of sounding fluent in English is being able to describe your intentions and motivations clearly. Instead of saying, I want to, you can say, I intend to, or I'm planning to, or my goal is to. And instead of saying, I don't want to, you could say, I'd prefer not to, or that's not something I'm comfortable with right now. These expressions add depth to your speech and demonstrate maturity and thoughtfulness. Advanced speakers use them naturally to express their boundaries, goals, and personal choices. Let's practice intention phrases. Think of something you plan to do tomorrow. Instead of saying, I want to relax tomorrow, try saying, my goal for tomorrow is to unwind and recharge. Repeat it a few times. Feel how the rhythm becomes smoother each time you say it. Now think of something you prefer not to do. Instead of saying, I don't want to go out, try saying, I'd prefer to stay in and take it easy today. This type of expression helps you communicate more naturally and confidently. Another essential part of advanced English is using phrases that show reflection and deeper thinking. Fluent speakers often discuss their thoughts in a more detailed, analytical way. Instead of saying, I think about it, you could say, I've been reflecting on it, or I've been considering it carefully, or I've been giving it some thought. These phrases show that you are thoughtful and intentional in your communication. They are especially useful in professional conversations, problem-solving situations, and discussions with friends where emotional depth is needed. Try practicing this. Imagine someone asks you for your opinion about an important decision. Instead of saying, I'm thinking about it, try saying, I've been reflecting on it, and I want to make sure I choose the best option. Say it slowly. Feel the calm confidence in your voice. This type of phrasing shows emotional awareness and higher-level thinking, both of which contribute significantly to advanced fluency. Now let's move into a very practical part of advanced daily English, using natural fillers and softening phrases that fluent speakers use all the time. Many learners avoid fillers because they believe fillers sound unprofessional, but that's not true. Native speakers use fillers like, you know, actually, to be honest, basically, to be fair, I mean, and let me see, to create a natural rhythm in conversation. These fillers give you time to think and help your speech sound more relaxed. The key is to use them naturally and not too frequently. Let's practice. Imagine you're explaining something and need a moment to collect your thoughts. You might say, so, basically, what I'm trying to say is, by adding the word basically, you create a natural pause that helps your brain catch up. Or imagine someone asks you a difficult question and you're unsure how to start. You could say, well, to be honest, that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. These fillers help you manage the flow of conversation and reduce pressure when speaking. Another element of advanced fluency is being able to adjust your tone depending on the situation. Fluent speakers often choose their words based on the emotional atmosphere of the conversation. For example, when you want to sound supportive, you might say, I completely understand how you feel. When you want to sound professional, you might say, I'd like to offer a suggestion if that's all right. When you want to sound confident, you might say, I'm certain this is the right direction. Tone is not only about the sound of your voice, it is also about the vocabulary you choose. Let's practice shifting tones. First, imagine a friend is feeling sad. You could say, I'm really sorry you're going through this. If you ever need to talk, I'm here for you. This tone is comforting and gentle. Now imagine you're in a meeting and want to make a strong point. You might say, I'm confident that this approach will lead to better results. This tone is clear and assertive. Repeat each sentence with the right emotion. Practicing tone intentionally will significantly improve how natural and advanced your English sounds. Another important part of advanced English is how you end conversations. Fluently ending a conversation is just as important as starting one. Instead of saying bye, you can say, "It was great talking to you," or "Let's catch up again soon," or "I really enjoyed our conversation." These phrases leave a positive impression and help you build strong relationships in English. When you end a conversation politely and smoothly, you show emotional intelligence and communication skills that native speakers appreciate. Let's practice this. Imagine you finished a conversation with a colleague. Instead of simply saying, "Bye," try saying, "It was really nice talking with you. Let's stay in touch." Repeat it once in a friendly tone, then once in a professional tone. Notice how the words shift slightly depending on the emotional atmosphere you want to create. You're doing an amazing job developing your advanced English speaking skills. Every time you repeat these phrases, imagine yourself using them in real conversations with real people. The key to fluency is repetition, awareness, and confidence. The more you practice, the more automatic these expressions will become. And soon, speaking advanced English will feel natural and effortless. As you continue building your advanced English speaking skills, another essential ability is learning how to express subtle differences in meaning using precise vocabulary. Advanced speakers often choose words that communicate not just the basic meaning, but the intensity or emotional weight behind their message. For example, instead of saying "I'm tired," you might say "I'm completely drained," or "I'm feeling a bit worn out," or "I'm low on energy today." Instead of saying "I'm excited," you might say "I'm genuinely thrilled," or "I'm really looking forward to this," or "I feel energized just thinking about it." Each of these options expresses a slightly different level of emotion, allowing you to communicate more accurately and more naturally. Let's practice expressing intensity now. Think of a time when you felt extremely motivated. Instead of saying, "I was motivated," try saying, "I was incredibly driven to achieve my goal." And now imagine a moment when you felt nervous about something new. Instead of saying, "I was nervous," try saying, "I felt slightly anxious, but determined to push through." Practicing these small shifts helps you expand your emotional vocabulary, which is one of the strongest signs of advanced fluency. Another major part of sounding fluent is using advanced phrases to describe your daily routine. Basic English learners often describe their days in simple sentences, such as "I woke up," "I went to work," "I ate lunch," and so on. But fluent speakers naturally add details, opinions, emotions, and reflections. Instead of saying "I woke up early," you might say, "I woke up earlier than usual and felt surprisingly refreshed." Instead of saying "I worked all day," you might say, "I spent most of the day tackling a few demanding tasks at work, but it felt productive." Adding small details like this helps you sound more natural and expressive. Let's practice improving a daily routine sentence. Start with the basic version. "I had a busy morning." Now transform it into an advanced version. "I had a remarkably busy morning, and I barely had a moment to catch my breath." Repeat it slowly so your mouth becomes comfortable with the rhythm. Now try another one. Start with the basic sentence, "I cooked dinner." Transform it into, "I cooked a simple but comforting dinner." That really helped me unwind after a long day. Practicing this transformation trains your brain to think in richer, more fluent English. Another essential skill advanced speakers use is expressing possibility and probability in a natural way. Instead of saying maybe, you can say it's possible that, or there's a good chance that, or I'm not entirely certain, but it seems likely that. These expressions help you communicate in a more thoughtful and precise way. Similarly, when you want to express doubts politely, instead of saying I don't think so, you can say I'm not completely convinced, or I have some doubts about that, or I'm not entirely certain that will work. Let's practice this skill. Imagine you are discussing weekend plans with a friend. Instead of saying, maybe I'll go out, try saying, there's a good chance I'll go out this weekend, depending on how I feel. Now imagine you are unsure about a decision. Instead of saying, I don't think it's good, try saying, I'm not entirely convinced this is the best option. Practicing these sentences helps you sound thoughtful, calm, and articulate. Another powerful technique fluent English speakers use is summarizing conversations in a natural way. Summarizing means restating someone's idea in your own words to show understanding. For example, you might say, so what you're saying is, or if I understand correctly, you mean that, or let me make sure I'm following you. These phrases help you maintain clarity and avoid misunderstandings. They also make you sound more attentive and engaged in the conversation. Let's practice summarizing. Imagine someone tells you about a difficult week at work. You might respond by saying, so if I understand correctly, this week has been really overwhelming for you, and you're trying your best to manage everything. Practice saying this. Notice how this sentence shows empathy, understanding, and fluency all at once. Another part of advanced speaking is knowing how to express time and schedules in a natural, conversational way. Instead of saying, I will do it tomorrow, fluent speakers sometimes say, I'll get to that tomorrow, or I'm planning to take care of it tomorrow, or I should be able to handle that sometime in the morning. This makes the conversation sound more relaxed and natural. Similarly, when talking about the past, instead of saying, yesterday I went shopping, you might say, yesterday I ended up going shopping, and it was more enjoyable than I expected. Let's practice improving a time-related sentence. Start with, tomorrow I will study English. Transform it into, tomorrow I'm planning to spend some time studying English and reviewing a few advanced phrases. Repeat it slowly. Then try another one. Yesterday I cooked dinner. Transform it into, yesterday I ended up cooking dinner, and it turned out surprisingly delicious. Practicing these slight variations helps your speech sound more flexible and fluent. Another key element of fluency is learning how to express preferences in a more advanced, natural way. Instead of saying, I like, you can say, I tend to enjoy, or I'm particularly fond of, or I have a preference for. And instead of saying, I don't like, you can say, I'm not a big fan of, or that's not really my thing, or I usually avoid. These expressions allow you to express your tastes and choices more smoothly. Let's practice this now. If someone asks you what kind of movies you like, instead of saying, I like action movies, try saying, I tend to enjoy action movies because they're exciting and fast-paced. And if someone asks you what kind of food you don't like, instead of saying, I don't like spicy food, say, I'm not a big fan of spicy food because it can be a bit overwhelming for me. Practice saying these sentences slowly until they feel natural. Another crucial part of advanced speaking is asking for clarification in a polite and sophisticated way. Instead of saying, "What?" or "I don't understand," fluent speakers often say, "Could you clarify that for me?" or "Could you explain that in a bit more detail?" or "I want to make sure I understand. Could you repeat that?" These expressions help you maintain smooth communication, even when the conversation becomes challenging. Let's practice. Imagine someone uses a word you don't know. Instead of panicking, you can say, I'm not familiar with that word. Could you explain what it means? This is polite and completely natural. Repeat it until it feels comfortable to say. Another advanced skill is learning how to describe your progress and challenges when learning English. Instead of saying, I'm improving, you can say, I've been making noticeable progress, or my confidence has been growing lately, or I feel like my speaking skills are becoming more natural. And instead of saying, it's difficult, you can say, I'm finding it a bit challenging, but I'm committed to improving. Let's practice expressing progress. Try saying, I've been making steady progress in my English speaking, and I feel more confident using advanced expressions now. Then try expressing a challenge politely. I'm finding some aspects of vocabulary a little difficult, but I'm working through them step by step. Practicing these types of sentences allows you to talk about your learning journey in a more fluent and thoughtful way. The goal of fluency is not perfection. The goal is confidence, clarity, and connection. Every sentence you practice brings you one step closer to the speaker you want to be. Your brain is learning new rhythms, new patterns, new vocabulary, and new ways of expressing your ideas. Keep going, keep repeating, and keep trusting your progress. You are becoming a more advanced speaker every single day. As you continue building your advanced speaking skills, one of the most transformative habits you can develop is learning how to express your thoughts with layers of meaning. Many learners speak in very direct or literal ways, but fluent speakers often add subtle shades of thought to sound more natural and emotionally intelligent. For example, instead of saying, I don't understand, you could say, I'm not entirely sure I understand what you mean yet, or I'm still trying to make sense of that, or could you walk me through that again? These expressions soften your speech and make your English sound more nuanced and mature. Let's practice this idea. Imagine someone is explaining a complicated topic, like a work process or a school assignment. Instead of responding with, I don't get it, try saying, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. Could you explain that last part again? Say it slowly and feel how naturally it flows. This type of language shows confidence, even when you are unsure. Another essential advanced skill is learning how to describe changes in situations and how you feel about them. Instead of using simple sentences like, things changed, fluent speakers often say, things have shifted quite a bit recently, or there's been a noticeable change in the situation, or the circumstances have evolved more than I expected. These phrases help you communicate in a more thoughtful and expressive way. Let's practice describing change. Imagine you recently started a new routine. Instead of saying, "My routine changed," try saying, "My routine has evolved in a really interesting way lately, and I'm still adjusting to it." Repeat it, and notice how the sentence contains emotion, reflection, and detail, all signs of advanced fluency. Another part of advanced English is expressing the reason behind your feelings. Many learners say, "I'm stressed" or "I'm tired," but fluent speakers often explain why. Instead of saying, "I'm stressed," you could say, "I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I've been juggling several responsibilities." Instead of saying, "I'm tired," you could say, "I'm a bit worn out after a long day of unexpected challenges." Adding the cause makes your speech more complete and meaningful. Let's practice explaining reasons. Think about a time when you felt frustrated. Instead of saying, "I was frustrated," try saying, "I felt incredibly frustrated because things weren't going the way I had hoped." Now think of a moment you felt proud. Instead of saying, "I was proud," try saying, "I felt genuinely proud of myself because I pushed through something difficult." Practicing this reflective style helps your English sound deeper, clearer, and more advanced. Now let's focus on a skill that separates intermediate speakers from truly fluent ones: expressing doubt and hesitation in a natural, confident way. Fluent speakers don't always sound certain. They often use phrases like, "I'm not entirely sure," "I might be mistaken, but," or "It's possible I'm overlooking something." These phrases help you participate in conversations without needing perfect answers. Let's practice. Imagine someone asks for your opinion about a topic you don't fully understand. Instead of freezing or giving a basic reply, try saying, "I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like this could be a reasonable solution." Say it with a calm tone. This allows you to stay in the conversation while sounding mature and thoughtful. Another powerful element of advanced conversation is the ability to express suggestions in a polite and intelligent way. Instead of saying, "You should do this," fluent speakers often say, "It might be a good idea to," or "Have you considered," or "One approach that could work is." These expressions help you share ideas respectfully and collaboratively. Let's practice making a suggestion. Imagine a friend is struggling with managing their time. Instead of saying, "You should plan your day," try saying, "It might be helpful to plan your day in smaller sections so it feels more manageable." Practice saying it slowly. Notice how the tone feels supportive rather than commanding. Now let's explore another advanced speaking skill: expressing possibilities and alternatives in everyday conversations. Fluent speakers often use phrases like, "One option could be," or "Another possibility is," or "If that doesn't work, we could try." These expressions help you think out loud and show flexibility in conversation. Practice this now. Imagine you're planning a weekend activity with someone. Instead of saying, "We can go to the park," try saying, "One option could be going to the park if the weather stays nice." Adding the phrase, "one option could be," makes your sentence sound more collaborative and natural. Another part of sounding fluent is using advanced vocabulary to show appreciation of ideas, people, and experiences. Instead of saying, "That's good," you might say, "That's a really thoughtful idea," or "That's incredibly helpful," or "That's quite impressive." These expressions show deeper acknowledgement and emotional awareness. Let's practice showing appreciation. Imagine someone gives you advice. Instead of saying thanks, try saying, "That's incredibly helpful," and "I really appreciate your perspective." Repeat it slowly until it feels natural. A strong sign of advanced fluency is the ability to express long thoughts clearly. Fluent speakers often combine multiple ideas in one sentence using phrases like "not only, but also," "even though," "as a result," "on one hand," "on the other hand," and "in addition to that." Practicing these structures will help your speech sound smoother and more connected. Let's practice longer thought structures. Start with a basic idea. "I wanted to relax, but I had work." Now transform it into an advanced sentence. "Even though I wanted to relax today, I ended up focusing on some tasks that really needed my attention." Now try another one. Start with, "I studied English and improved." Transform it into, "Not only have I been studying English consistently, but I've also noticed a significant improvement in my confidence." Practicing these long structures builds your fluency and helps your mind connect ideas smoothly. Another essential advanced skill is learning how to express uncertainty with confidence. You don't need to sound like you know everything. Fluent speakers frequently use phrases like, "I might be wrong, but I feel like," or "I'm not completely sure, although, or "It seems to me that." These phrases allow you to participate in conversations, even when you're not an expert. Let's practice expressing uncertainty. Try saying, "I might be mistaken, but it seems like this approach could work really well." Repeat it. When you say this naturally, you will notice how confident and professional it sounds. Now let's focus on advanced conversational connectors, the small expressions fluent speakers use to keep conversations flowing smoothly. These include phrases like, "By the way," "that being said," "at the same time," "on another note," and "for what it's worth." These connectors help you change topics, add details, and show deeper thinking. Practice using them. Say this sentence. "By the way, I wanted to mention something that could help us improve this idea." Now try another one. "That being said, I still think we should explore more options." These connectors make your speech feel more coherent and natural. You're developing so many powerful, advanced English skills right now. Every phrase you practice is helping you sound more expressive, more confident, and more emotionally intelligent. Keep repeating, keep imagining real situations, and keep using these advanced expressions in your daily life. As you continue strengthening your advanced speaking skills, another powerful technique to practice is expressing your thoughts with clarity even when the topic is complex. Fluent speakers often use framing phrases that help organize their message before they speak. Instead of jumping directly into an idea, they might begin with, "The main point I want to highlight is," or "what I'm trying to convey is," or "let me put it this way." These phrases give your mind time to prepare, and they help the listener follow your ideas smoothly. This is especially useful in professional conversations, presentations, or moments where you want to sound focused and organized. Let's practice framing your thoughts. Imagine someone asks you for advice about time management. Instead of responding immediately, try saying, "The main point I want to highlight is the importance of setting small, achievable goals. Repeat it slowly." Feel how this approach gives you control over your message and helps you sound confident. Now try another version. Let me put it this way. Managing your time becomes much easier when you structure your day around priorities. These framing expressions bring clarity and authority to your speech. Another essential skill is using advanced English to reflect on experiences more deeply. Fluent speakers often express personal insights rather than simply describing what happened. Instead of saying, "I learned something," you might say, "One thing I realized is that," or "Something that really stood out to me was," or "An important lesson I took away from this experience is." These expressions help you sound thoughtful and articulate. Let's practice reflecting. Think about a small lesson you learned recently. Instead of saying, "I learned to be patient," try saying, "One thing I realized recently is that patience often creates opportunities I wouldn't have noticed before." Repeat it slowly. Notice how it sounds more meaningful and expressive. Another part of advanced speaking is using emphasis phrases. Fluent speakers use these to highlight what matters most. They might say, "What really matters here is," or "The important thing to remember is," or "What makes this situation unique is." These expressions show clarity of thought and help you guide the conversation. Practice this now. Imagine someone asks why you appreciate a friend. Instead of saying, "They help me," say, "What really matters to me is how supportive they are, even during stressful times." Practicing emphasis helps your speech become more structured and more expressive. Now let's work on advanced conversational confidence. Many learners struggle with doubting their English in real conversations, especially when speaking to native speakers. Fluent speakers often use affirming phrases to support their point of view. Instead of saying, "I think," you might say, "I firmly believe," or "I'm confident that," or "I'm convinced that." These expressions show certainty and authority. Let's practice using them. Imagine you're sharing an opinion about a decision at work. Instead of saying, "I think this plan is good," say, "I'm confident that this plan will help us move forward effectively." Repeat it aloud. Feel the difference in tone and strength. This type of language helps you speak with assurance, even when the topic is challenging. Another sign of advanced fluency is your ability to compare ideas with nuance. Instead of saying, "This is better," or "This is worse," you can use expressions like, "This approach seems more effective," or "This option appears less practical," or "This method is slightly more convenient." These phrases give you flexibility and precision, which are essential in thoughtful conversations. Practice comparing ideas. Imagine choosing between two schedules. Instead of saying, "Morning is better," say, "The morning schedule seems more effective for maintaining focus." Now imagine comparing two restaurants. Instead of saying, "This one is worse," say, "This place feels slightly less comfortable than the other one." Practicing subtle comparisons helps your English sound more polished. Another advanced speaking technique is showing curiosity in a natural way. Fluent speakers ask deeper questions using phrases like, "I'd love to know more about," or "I'm curious about," or "Could you help me understand why?" These expressions build stronger conversations and help you connect with others more deeply. Let's practice curiosity. Imagine your friend tells you they changed their career path. Instead of asking, "Why?" try saying, "I'd love to know more about what inspired you to make that change." Repeat it slowly, and notice how this phrasing sounds warm and engaged. Now let's move into advanced daily life vocabulary related to describing your mindset and energy. Instead of basic words like busy, tired, or bored, fluent speakers use more expressive alternatives. You can say, "I've been swamped lately," or "I'm feeling mentally drained," or "I've been craving something new and refreshing," or "I feel recharged after taking a break." These expressions reflect your emotional and mental state more accurately. Practice this now. Think about today. Instead of saying, "I'm tired," say, "I'm feeling a bit mentally drained after everything I had to handle today." If you feel relaxed, instead of saying, "I'm relaxed," try saying, "I'm feeling surprisingly calm and centered right now." Practicing emotional vocabulary will help you express yourself more naturally. Another essential skill is expressing willingness or reluctance. Instead of saying, "I want to help," fluent speakers may say, "I'd be happy to help," or "I'm open to helping if needed." Instead of saying, "I don't want to," you might say, "I'm not entirely comfortable with that," or "I'd rather not if that's all right." These expressions help you communicate boundaries politely and professionally. Practice expressing willingness. Try saying, "I'd be more than happy to support you with that." Now practice reluctance. "I'd prefer not to take on that task at the moment." Speaking with this level of subtlety is a strong sign of fluency. Another important area of advanced speaking is managing conversations with balance. Fluent speakers know when to speak, when to pause, and how to give the other person space. They often use phrases like, "Go ahead," or "Take your time," or "I'm listening," or "Feel free to continue." These small phrases make conversations smoother and more comfortable. Practice this now. Imagine someone pauses while explaining something. Respond with, "Take your time. I'm listening." Say it slowly. Feel how calming and supportive it sounds. Advanced fluency also involves expressing hope, doubt, and expectation clearly. Instead of saying, "I hope," you can say, "I'm hopeful that," or "I'm optimistic that." Instead of saying, "I'm not sure," you can say, "I'm uncertain about," or "I'm questioning whether." These expressions allow you to communicate with greater emotional depth. Try practicing hope. Say, "I'm really optimistic that things will improve soon." Now practice uncertainty. Say, "I'm uncertain about how this will turn out, but I'm open to seeing what happens." These sentences help you express complex emotions with confidence. The more you practice this type of expressive, nuanced vocabulary, the more your English begins to sound like a natural extension of your mind. Fluency is not only about speaking correctly, it is about speaking clearly, thoughtfully, and emotionally. You are training your brain to connect ideas in English, in real time. and every sentence you practice brings you closer to effortless, advanced communication. As you continue developing your advanced English speaking abilities, one of the most important skills to master is expressing expectations and outcomes in a natural, fluent way. Instead of simply saying, "I expect this to happen," fluent speakers often use phrases like, "I'm anticipating that," or "It seems likely that," or "I wouldn't be surprised if." These expressions help you describe future possibilities with confidence and clarity. They also make your speech sound more flexible and adaptable, which is essential in real-life conversations where things are always changing. Let's practice expressing expectations. Imagine you're waiting for an important message. Instead of saying, "I expect a message," try saying, "I'm anticipating a message later today, so I'm keeping an eye on my phone." Repeat it slowly. Now imagine you are predicting the outcome of a project. Instead of saying, "It will be successful," try saying, "It seems likely that the project will be successful based on the progress we've made." Practicing these expressions helps you communicate thoughts about the future in a more natural and intelligent way. Another advanced skill fluent speakers use often is expressing certainty and uncertainty with subtlety. Instead of saying, "I'm sure," you might say, "I'm fairly certain," or "I'm quite confident," or "I'm completely convinced." Instead of saying, "I'm not sure," you might say, "I'm uncertain," or "I'm still considering it," or "I'm questioning whether that's the right move." These phrases help you communicate your level of confidence without sounding too absolute. Practice this with me. Think of a simple decision, like choosing a time to meet a friend. Instead of saying, "I'm sure this time works," try saying, "I'm fairly confident this time works for me." And instead of saying, "I'm not sure about that," try saying, "I'm uncertain whether that option fits my schedule." Saying these out loud helps your mind adjust to expressing your thoughts with more precision. Another powerful technique that fluent speakers use is expressing empathy naturally. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry," or "That's sad," advanced speakers often say, "That must be incredibly difficult," or "I can imagine how overwhelming that feels," or "That sounds emotionally exhausting." These expressions show emotional support and understanding, which makes your communication feel genuine and human. Let's practice empathy. Imagine a friend tells you they're struggling with stress at work. Instead of saying, "That's bad," try saying, "It sounds like you've been carrying a lot on your shoulders lately. That must feel exhausting." Now imagine someone tells you they achieved a small personal success. Instead of saying, "Good job," say, "That's genuinely amazing. You must feel incredibly proud of yourself." Practicing empathy vocabulary helps you deepen conversations and connect with others emotionally. Another part of advanced speaking is expressing contrast in a clear and sophisticated way. Fluent speakers often use expressions like, "on the other hand," or "in contrast to that," or "at the same time," or "while that's true, there's also the fact that." These phrases help you show two different sides of a topic without sounding confusing. Let's practice. Imagine discussing a job offer. Instead of saying, "It's good, but the salary is low," try saying, "On one hand, the position seems incredibly rewarding, but on the other hand, the salary is somewhat lower than I hoped." Repeat it slowly to get comfortable with the rhythm. Advanced fluency also involves expressing gradual changes. Instead of saying, "I'm improving," fluent speakers often say, "I've been improving gradually," or "I'm slowly getting better at it," or "I've noticed a steady improvement." Instead of saying, "It's getting worse," you might say, "It has been deteriorating over time," or "It seems to be becoming more challenging." Practice this with me. Think about a skill you're working on, like English. Instead of saying, "I'm improving," say, "I've been noticing a steady improvement in my confidence recently." Now imagine something becoming difficult. Instead of saying, "It's worse," try saying, "It seems to have become more challenging lately." These subtle expressions bring maturity and clarity to your speech. Another key element of advanced speaking is expressing your preferences with nuance. Instead of saying, "I prefer," fluent speakers often use phrases like, "I tend to lean toward," or "I'm more inclined to," or "I usually gravitate toward." These expressions make your preferences sound more natural and conversational. Let's practice. Imagine choosing a restaurant. Instead of saying, "I prefer Italian food," try saying, "I tend to lean toward Italian food because it's comforting and flavorful." Now imagine choosing between two activities. Instead of saying, "I prefer staying home," say, "I'm more inclined to stay home and relax this evening." Practicing this helps your English sound more fluid and expressive. Another aspect of advanced speaking that many learners overlook is expressing appreciation in a deeper way. Instead of saying "thanks," fluent speakers often say, "I truly appreciate your support," or "that means a lot to me," or "your help made a significant difference." These expressions show sincerity and emotional connection. Practice gratitude with me. Imagine someone does something kind for you. Instead of saying "thank you," try saying, "I genuinely appreciate what you did. It really made my day easier." Now imagine someone listened to you when you needed support. Instead of saying, "Thanks for listening," say, "It means more than I can express that you took the time to listen." These deeper expressions build stronger relationships. Advanced fluency also requires being able to describe your intentions with clarity. Instead of saying, "I will try," fluent speakers often say, "I'm planning to," or "I intend to," or "my goal is to." These expressions help you communicate clearly and confidently. Let's practice intention. Instead of saying, "I will try to study English more," say, "I intend to dedicate more time to studying English this week." Now try a different intention. "My goal is to improve my pronunciation by practicing daily." Speaking like this gives your ideas more purpose and direction. Another important part of sounding fluent is using advanced vocabulary to describe positive experiences. Instead of saying, "It was good," you might say, "It was incredibly refreshing," or "It was surprisingly delightful," or "It was truly unforgettable." These words help create vivid, emotional imagery. Practice describing a moment. Think of something you enjoyed recently. Instead of saying, "It was good," try saying, "It was surprisingly delightful, and I didn't expect it to uplift my mood the way it did." Repeat it slowly and notice how expressive it sounds. You are continuing to build fluency by expanding your emotional vocabulary, your expression of intention, your ability to show empathy, and your confidence in describing complex ideas. Each practice moment helps your English sound more natural, expressive, and advanced. Keep practicing aloud. Keep imagining real conversations involving these expressions. Step by step, you are becoming a more confident communicator. As you continue strengthening your advanced English speaking skills, another powerful tool you can develop is the ability to express your reactions with subtlety instead of using simple, repetitive responses. Many learners use the same reaction words again and again, such as, wow, really, okay, or that's great. Fluent speakers, however, express themselves using a much wider range of responses that convey emotion, personality, and engagement. Instead of simply saying, "Oh, really?" you might say, "That's genuinely interesting," or "I didn't realize that," or "That gives me a new perspective." These phrases show that you are fully engaged in the conversation and thinking actively. Let's practice reacting naturally. Imagine a friend tells you they received an unexpected promotion. Instead of saying, "Wow, that's good," try saying, "That's incredible news. You must feel thrilled and proud." Now imagine someone tells you something surprising, but not necessarily positive. Instead of saying, "Really?" try saying, "That definitely caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that at all." Practicing varied reactions helps you sound more fluent and dynamic during real conversations. Another aspect of advanced fluency is expressing your thoughts while maintaining emotional balance. Fluent speakers often use calm, grounding expressions to show maturity and self-control. Instead of saying, "I'm angry," you might say, "I'm feeling quite frustrated at the moment." Instead of saying, "I'm scared," you might say, "I'm feeling a bit uneasy about this." And instead of saying, "I'm confused," you might say, "I'm trying to get a clearer understanding." These expressions help you communicate your emotional state more gracefully. Practice emotional balance with me. Think of a situation where you were irritated. Instead of saying, "I was angry," try saying, "I felt frustrated because the situation wasn't unfolding the way I expected." Now think of a time when you felt uncertain. Instead of saying, "I didn't know what to do," try saying, "I felt unsure about how to move forward, but I tried to stay calm and thoughtful." These expressions help you sound emotionally intelligent and confident. Another important advanced skill is expressing your expectations for other people in a polite, respectful manner. Instead of saying, "You should do this," fluent speakers might say, "I'd appreciate it if you could," or "It would be helpful if you," or "Would you mind?" These phrases soften your request and make it more collaborative, especially in professional or sensitive situations. Let's practice polite expectations. Imagine asking a coworker for help. Instead of saying, "Send me the file," try saying, "I'd really appreciate it if you could send me the file when you have a moment now." Imagine asking someone to speak more slowly. Instead of saying, "Slow down," say, "Would you mind speaking a bit more slowly so I can follow you clearly?" These softer expressions help build positive communication habits. Another key part of advanced speaking is describing your personal growth and internal changes over time. Fluent speakers often use reflective language such as, "I've realized that," or "I've grown more comfortable with," or "I've become more aware of." These phrases help you communicate your thoughts in a way that sounds thoughtful and introspective. Let's practice. Think about something you've learned lately. Instead of saying I learned new vocabulary, try saying I've grown more comfortable using advanced vocabulary in real conversations lately. Now think of something you changed in your life. Instead of saying I changed my schedule, say I've become more intentional about organizing my schedule in a way that supports my productivity. These expressions help you describe yourself with clarity and depth. A powerful fluency skill that most learners overlook is expressing gratitude for experiences rather than objects or actions. Instead of saying thank you for helping, you might say, I'm really grateful for the support you gave me today. It made everything more manageable. Instead of saying, I liked the event, you might say, I'm truly grateful I had the chance to attend that event. It opened my eyes to new ideas. This type of gratitude deepens your conversations and shows emotional maturity. Practice gratitude now. Think of a moment when someone listened to you. Instead of saying, thanks for listening, say, I'm genuinely grateful that you took the time to listen. It meant a lot to me. Practicing this helps you create meaningful emotional connections through your words. Another important part of advanced communication is expressing boundaries respectfully. Fluent speakers often use clear but gentle phrases like, I'm not comfortable with that, or I'd prefer not to, or that doesn't work for me right now. These phrases allow you to protect your time and energy without sounding harsh or rude. Let's practice setting boundaries. Imagine someone invites you to a plan you cannot join. Instead of saying, I can't go, try saying, I'd love to join, but it doesn't work for me today. Now imagine someone asks you for a favor that feels overwhelming. Instead of saying, I don't want to help, try saying, I'm not able to take that on right now, but I appreciate you thinking of me. Practicing these expressions helps you stay polite while maintaining balance in your life. Advanced speakers also know how to express curiosity in a deeper way. Instead of simple questions like, why or how, fluent speakers might say, I'm really curious about what made you feel that way, or could you walk me through your thought process, or what inspired you to make that decision? These kinds of questions help conversations expand more naturally. Practice deeper curiosity. Imagine someone tells you they changed their career path. Instead of saying why, say, I'm really curious about what inspired you to make such a meaningful change. Notice how this question invites a more thoughtful response. Another essential advanced skill is talking about your habits and routines with more detail and reflection. Instead of saying, I wake up early, you might say, I've been trying to wake up earlier because it gives me more calm time in the morning to prepare for the day. Instead of saying, I exercise, you might say, I've developed a routine of exercising a few times a week to stay grounded and energized. These expressions help you explain your lifestyle in a more engaging way. Practice expressing your routine. Think of a simple activity like drinking tea. Instead of saying, I drink tea, try saying, I've gotten into the habit of drinking tea every evening because it helps me unwind. Notice how much more natural and descriptive that sounds. Another advanced speaking strategy is expressing disappointments politely. Instead of saying, I didn't like it, you might say, it didn't quite meet my expectations, or I was hoping for something a bit different, or it wasn't exactly what I had imagined. These soft phrases help you share honest feelings without sounding harsh or negative. Practice expressing polite disappointment. Think of a movie you didn't enjoy. Instead of saying, "It was bad," say, "It didn't quite meet my expectations, but I appreciated some parts of it." Practicing these phrases helps you share opinions respectfully. Your fluency is built through all of these small choices: the way you react, the way you express gratitude, the way you describe experiences, the way you communicate boundaries, the way you reflect on your thinking. As you practice these expressions again and again, your English becomes more expressive, more nuanced, and more natural in real conversations. Keep breathing, keep repeating, and keep imagining yourself speaking confidently in every situation. As you continue strengthening your advanced speaking skills, another powerful technique you can develop is learning how to express your thoughts with depth when someone asks for your opinion. Many English learners give very short, simple answers like, "It's good," "It's fine," or "I like it." But fluent speakers often expand their responses with context, reasoning, and emotion. Instead of saying, "It's good," you might say, "I think it's quite well designed and it meets most of the expectations I had." Instead of saying, "I like it," you might say, "I genuinely enjoy it because it aligns with what I value and what I'm looking for." These sentences make your speech richer, more thoughtful, and more natural. Let's practice expanding your opinions. Imagine someone asks whether you enjoyed a recent event. Instead of saying, "Yes, it was good," try saying, "Yes, I really enjoyed it because the atmosphere was warm, and it gave me a chance to connect with people in a meaningful way." Now imagine someone asks for your opinion about a book. Instead of saying, "It was interesting," try saying, "I found it incredibly insightful, and it offered perspectives I hadn't considered before." Practice in these expanded answers helps you sound more expressive and confident. Another essential part of advanced speaking is describing your reactions to new information in a thoughtful way. Instead of simply saying, "I didn't know that," fluent speakers may say, "That's something I hadn't considered before," or "That gives me a new way of looking at things," or "That adds a lot of clarity to what I was thinking." Practice this with me. Imagine someone explains a new method for solving a problem. Instead of saying, "Oh, I didn't know," try saying, "That's fascinating. It gives me a clearer picture of how this process works." Repeat it slowly until it feels natural. This kind of response shows maturity, curiosity, and openness. Another advanced skill is learning how to express your uncertainty while still sounding confident and composed. Instead of saying, "I don't know," fluent speakers often say, "I'm not entirely sure, but I think," or "I'm still gathering my thoughts on that," or "I haven't fully explored this idea yet." These expressions allow you to participate in a conversation even when your understanding isn't complete. Let's practice expressing thoughtful uncertainty. Imagine someone asks about a topic you're not familiar with. Instead of saying, "I have no idea," say, "I haven't explored that fully, but from what I understand, it seems..." This gives you space to think and shows that you are willing to engage even with limited information. Another important advanced speaking tool is the ability to express gratitude in a deeper, more meaningful way. Instead of saying "thanks," fluent speakers may say, "I truly appreciate your willingness to help," or I'm genuinely grateful for the effort you put into this. Or, your support really means a lot to me. Practice gratitude with me. Think of a time someone encouraged you. Instead of saying, "Thanks for the support," try saying, "I'm genuinely grateful for your encouragement. It helped me feel more confident and grounded." This type of expression strengthens your communication and builds meaningful connections. Another part of advanced fluency is learning how to express your personal values and beliefs in a calm and confident manner. Fluent speakers often use phrases like, "I strongly believe that," or "I truly value," or "One thing that's important to me is." These phrases allow you to share your inner thoughts without sounding aggressive or confrontational. Let's practice expressing your values. Think about something that matters to you, such as honesty or kindness. Instead of saying, "Honesty is important," try saying, "One thing I truly value is honesty because it builds trust and creates a deeper sense of connection." Practicing these expressions helps you speak in a way that represents your true self. Another advanced speaking technique is being able to describe situations with sensory and emotional detail. Instead of saying, "It was cold," you might say, "The air felt unusually crisp, and the atmosphere carried a quiet stillness." Instead of saying, "The room was noisy," you could say, "The room was filled with scattered conversations and an energetic buzz." These details help listeners visualize your experiences more clearly. Practice this with me. Think of a recent place you visited. Instead of saying, "It was beautiful," say, "The place had a calm, refreshing beauty that made me feel incredibly at ease." Notice how the detail brings your story to life. The ability to describe feelings and sensory experiences is one of the strongest signs of advanced English. Another important skill is expressing the purpose behind your actions. Instead of saying, "I'm doing this," fluent speakers often say, "I'm doing this because," or "My intention behind this is," or "I took this step in order to." These expressions help you clarify the reasoning behind your choices. Let's practice expressing purpose. Think of something you recently decided to learn. Instead of saying, "I'm learning English," try saying, "I'm learning English because it opens doors to new opportunities and helps me connect with people around the world." This observation not only sounds more advanced, but also shows depth and motivation. Another advanced part of conversation is expressing relief or comfort. Instead of saying, "I'm glad," fluent speakers may say, "I feel relieved that everything worked out," or "I'm grateful things turned out well," or "It's comforting to know that." Practice expressing relief. Think of a moment when something went better than expected. Instead of saying, "I'm glad," say, "I feel so relieved that everything came together smoothly. It took a lot of pressure off my mind." Speaking like this helps you communicate your emotional experience more clearly. Another fluency technique involves expressing possibilities and alternatives. Fluent speakers use phrases like, "We could consider," or "Another possibility might be," or "If needed, we can." Practice offering alternatives. Imagine you and a friend are deciding where to go. Instead of saying, "Let's go to the cafe," say, "We could consider the cafe if you're in the mood for something quiet." Repeat it slowly. Then try another one. Another possibility might be going for a walk if you'd prefer something more relaxed. These expressions help you contribute more flexibly to conversations. Another sign of advanced fluency is expressing internal conflict or mixed emotions. Instead of saying, "I don't know how I feel," fluent speakers may say, "I have mixed feelings about this," or "Part of me feels excited, but another part feels unsure," or "I'm torn between two choices." These nuanced expressions reflect real human emotion more accurately. Practice expressing mixed emotions. Think of a decision you're unsure about. Instead of saying, "I'm confused," say, "I'm feeling a bit torn because both options have their own benefits." This makes your emotional experience clearer and more relatable. Every time you practice these nuanced expressions, deeper opinions, thoughtful uncertainty, expanded gratitude, emotional detail, mixed feelings, and alternative suggestions, you build your ability to communicate at a more advanced and authentic level. Fluency is not only about correct grammar or vocabulary, it is about expressing the complexity of your ideas and emotions. Keep practicing, keep repeating, and keep allowing yourself to grow into the fluent speaker you want to become. As we reach the end of this real English speaking practice masterclass, take a moment to recognize how much progress you've made. You've explored advanced expressions, rich emotional vocabulary, thoughtful phrases, and natural conversation techniques that fluent speakers use every day. The more you practice them, the more they will become a natural part of your daily communication. Fluency doesn't arrive all at once. It grows step by step, each time you express yourself with clarity, confidence, and intention. So keep practicing these phrases aloud. Keep listening carefully to how English feels when it flows naturally from your mouth, and keep giving yourself permission to learn, to grow, and to become more expressive in every conversation. You're becoming a stronger, more confident English speaker every day. And I'm genuinely proud of the dedication you've shown throughout this lesson. If today's practice helped you, inspired you, or made English feel a little more natural, then that already means you're moving forward on your journey. Thank you for spending this time with me, and thank you for choosing to grow your English with such consistency and heart. If you enjoyed this lesson, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss another English practice session. I'll see you in the next lesson.